Hello, everybody. This is Eliakim Cohen back with our maiden episode of On Torah. I have finally settled on a name for my new Jewish Outreach Foundation, and it is On Torah. Bought the domain name, just got accepted our credit card processing. You will now be able to sponsor lectures with a tax donation. It's been about 10 months, finally got the IRS tax approval for our charity, and we are now starting the process. So I wanted to announce it today because it's a very special day. It's my son's birthday. So the topic for today's lecture is going to be gratitude. Just gratitude, right? And it's opposing force, which is ungratefulness, right? Being grateful and being ungrateful. These are two things that are so prominent in Judaism, in the Torah, in the words of the sages. And we're going to dive into this today on a very, very special day. My son, Baruch Hashem, Bli and Hara, it's his 6th birthday, 24th of Shvat. So I wanted to announce the foundation on this day because I'm very grateful that I have someone that basically set this up for me. A wonderful person that lives in Israel. His name's Kevin Ross. And the goal is to do amazing things. The goal is that everyone supports us. So the foundation is called On Torah. I'm setting something up called Chai for a Chai, right? Like eye for an eye. All we are asking from people is $18 a month. My goal is to get 1,000 people to donate $18 a month. That's 59 cents a day. And it's not even your own money. 10% of your money has to go to tzedakah. We are just asking for a small slice of that, nothing more. I mean, obviously people that want to sponsor more. But we are trying to make this so that every single person can get merit for what we are doing. I'm doing unbelievable lectures, Baruch Hashem. The feedback's been incredible. My friend who is coming on board, he does the most incredible AI videos. Some of you have probably seen them on Facebook. We'll talk about that in the upcoming lectures. Our goal is very simple. The majority of the Jewish world does not understand that living a Torah lifestyle is not a choice, it's an obligation. That obligation happens to be the most wonderful, spiritual, uplifting, and fulfilling lifestyle out there. And the goal is to illuminate God's words in the Torah to inspire and to propel Jews to finally get on the right path to achieve their potential, to fulfill their potential. Because clearly, you can see the picture behind me. Clearly, this picture did not just blow up at a paint factory. Clearly, there was a designer, an artist that had this specific picture in mind, little, intrinsic details. Well, so too is the human being. We're the only creation from God that is unique to all others. To think that life is just going to school, going to college, getting that job, working till you're 60, retiring so you can take those 2 vacations, spending all your time watching Netflix and then washing your car on the weekends. People, there has to be more than that. And our goal with On Torah is to show people the beauty in life through the prism of Judaism. Now, let's get to the topic. The topic is just being grateful. And its horrific counterpart, it's like evil twin being ungrateful. So today's my son's 6th birthday. And it's his first birthday since his mother passed away. And it's the first lecture I've done. This is now the 131st lecture that's going up on the website. For now, it's just eliakim.com. It goes right to the YouTube channel. You can also see everything on Facebook, have a big following, Baruch Hashem. This is the first lecture that I've done that hasn't been sponsored because I'm sponsoring this lecture. To do what? To just say to Hashem, I am grateful for this child. Baruch Hashem. In olden times, there were so many other ways you could be grateful. There were sacrifices you could give. How often do you just say, thanks, Hashem, for all the blessings that you have in your life? If you're observant, you daven every day. You're always davening for something. I want the better job. I want want the fancier car. I want to get my son to get into the better college. All these different things. Do you ever just take time out of the day and just say, God, you know what? I know I don't say it enough, but just thank you. Imagine just flip it around for yourself. When someone just says to you, you know what, Malkarus? Thank you. You've been such a good friend. I mean, speaking of Malkarus, she sponsored 2 lectures recently. And I told her, I want to do an extra lecture for you because she picks such good topics. So she sent me a topic this morning, and I said, it's probably going to be about 2 weeks because I've got family coming in next week for my son's birthday, and I'm not going to be doing any lectures. So she messaged me back 3 minutes later and said, I just sent your son some money, buy him something. Great. I'm grateful that there's so many people in my life. There's so many great people that are, believing in what I'm doing here. We just don't acknowledge it enough. It's such a terrible midda of the Jewish people. And it's literally something ingrained in us. We are stubborn, stiff-necked people. And a lot of that leads to just being ungrateful. We see it when the Jews were taken out of Egypt, were in the desert. And so many times we turned on Hashem at the drop of a hat after all the things that Hashem did for us. And we there's no water here? Let's just turn back around and go to Egypt and be enslaved again. I mean, it's in the DNA of people in general, but the Jewish people, it is something that is so prevalent in our history. And there's so many warnings against it. And there's so many things set up in our day-to-day life to prevent this, roadblocks. And we still fall into the trap. So the goal of this episode is to shine a light on how important it is to just be grateful. Okay? So I'm grateful most for my son, Baruch Hashem. I never mention his name. No one's ever seen a picture of him unless, someone that's close, I've sent a picture. I'm very open with my own life. I'm very private when it comes to my family. So I always see these parents put all the pictures of their kids, and that's great, but to be honest, with all the different Epstein stuff out there, I don't want my kid's picture anywhere. But I do want to just say something about my son. You can learn a lot from kids. The level of joy and wonderment that a child has is something that unfortunately we seem to lose as, the years go on. And it really doesn't have to be that way. We were up in Boston 2 months ago, a month and a half ago. I took him there for New Year's. Just a nice father-son trip. And he saw snow for the first time. I remember I just stared at his face as he's just, watching the snow come down. You can learn so much from a kid. My favorite story of my son was a few months ago. We were in New York for all the Yom Tovim, one for Rosh Hashanah, whatever, stay with my wonderful cousins. And we're walking on the street, coming back from the kosher grocery store. And, he's holding my hand. We're in our ski hats. It was a little bit cold that day. And a plastic bag just blew through the street and landed and was hugging his shoe. He's just cackling as he's walking, trying to kick this bag off, but it won't move. And I remember there's some moments in life that you just want to capture, that you wish that you could just have a play button. It was just pure joy. It was just pure and utter joy. And there's so much you can learn from kids. Doesn't even have to be your kid. Just any kid you see. There's a level of just like a lust for life that if we truly were tuned in, if we truly understood how life works, if we truly understood what a gift we were, we would never lose it. You would be, like it says about Sarah. When Sarah passed away, she was 127. It says she was 127. I mean, my grandfather passed away, I think at 93. I didn't say he was 80 and 10 and 3. What's the 100, the 20, and the 7? At 100, she was as beautiful as 70, as 20, and at 20, she was like free of sin. Her whole life was just constantly trying to get as much out of life as possible, like a kid. A kid is never bored. A kid, no matter what they're doing, they can always find the joy, and it's something that we need to tap into. My mom actually just told me that, my dad got him 4 balloons yesterday, and we positioned him in the house so that everywhere he went, he'd see a new balloon. So my mom said, I just got home, and she said, he was sitting outside of of their bedroom, and she came out, and he was just hugging one of his balloons. We need to channel our inner child more. So I just want to say to Hashem, there's no words, there's no to show how appreciative I am, how thankful, but specifically how grateful to Baruch Hashem have been able to be married. Unfortunately, my wife passed away, but to be able to have a son and try to infuse in this child all of the beautiful things that Judaism stands for, because that is the most important thing as a parent, as a teacher, as a role model, as a mentor, to just instill good, wholesome Jewish values that are tried and true for 3,337 and a half years as of today into the next generation. Okay. With that, let's start. How do you show gratitude? What is gratitude? I want to give a good story of a good friend of mine. Good friend of mine, him and his wife have an unbelievable tradition. Every single year of their anniversary, she gets him a nice bottle of whiskey aged for that year. Okay, so the first few years, it's hard to find amazing whiskey that's 3 years old. I think now they've been married either 19 or 20. So the last time I was at their house was right after their 17th anniversary. So she showed me this unbelievable bottle of Balvenie, aged 17 years. She said this was so much more expensive than the 18 year, because 18's a known whiskey number. You got 10, 12, 15, 18. She said 17, it took her so long to find. It's not a bottle of whiskey. It's a sign of gratefulness. You're trying to show that there's something more. There's something holy and special that you want to show your appreciation. But how do I do it? So everyone does it differently. I went out last night. For my dad and I also bought a nice bottle of whiskey that we could open up on, this special occasion. Again, some people it's buying a fancy. It doesn't matter what it is. We understand that there's certain days in life, periods of times in life that are special, and we want to commemorate. We want to show that we're thankful. I think they have an unbelievable tradition. I saw all the bottles. They save all the bottles. It's a really, really beautiful, special tradition. But what are they just trying to show? They're just trying to say, Hashem, thank you. We understand how grateful and how appreciative we are. This is just our way of showing it to you. Getting this really nice bottle, yes, it's just a bottle, but in Judaism, nothing is just what it is when you infuse it with holiness. So what's gratitude? Gratitude is a very key and intrinsic part of Judaism. The morning begins with something called the Modeh Ani prayer. That's how we're going to start. The first thing you do when you open your eyes in the morning as a Jew is you say this very specific Modeh Ani prayer. We also say what? We say at least 100 blessings a day. What's a blessing? When people say count your blessings. A blessing is we are connecting to God and just saying thanks for a multitude of different things. We say a blessing when we eat something. We say a blessing when we drink something. We say a blessing for that we're not a slave. We say a blessing that we're Jewish. We say a blessing after we leave the bathroom. What's a blessing? It literally is just a connection that we are just telling Hashem, thank you. We understand, Hashem, that you exist. You created us. This is our way, according to the sages, of connecting with you. So what's the easiest way to say the blessing with kavana, with intention? Don't just Baruch Atah Hashem. When you say the blessing with kavana, you're showing Hashem, you want to connect with me, and it's with all of your heart and all of your soul. The Torah mandates gratitude. It literally is something that is mandated in Judaism, particularly in times of plenty, which we will talk about. The name itself, we are called what? Jews. Yehudim comes from what? Shevet Yehuda. The name Yehuda, which we'll talk about, is a name of gratitude. The entire name means gratitude. This is what Leah named her son. This time I will thank God. It was literally a sign of gratitude. Gratitude is meant to be active through words, through actions, like a korban todah, right? An offering when we had the temple. It's called a korban todah, an offering of thanks. Something happened in life and we just want to say thanks to Hashem. We don't have that now. So my korban todah for today is just doing this lecture, just thanking him for my son. And I'm even more thankful that I asked him last night. I said, like, I'm doing a lecture tomorrow just for you, for your birthday. He was so excited. I said, you have two choices. You can get all the schus, like all the merit for the lecture, or you can share it with all the people that have sponsored Abba's lectures, the 130 lectures that we've done in 10 and a half months, from people picking amazing topics and just allowing me to do nothing but prepare lectures for the Jewish world. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. I said, or you can share the merit, the schus, with all of Abba's sponsors. And he smiled and he went, Abba, what do you think? I said, you tell me. He said, share. I said, oh. I said, tomorrow's topic is gratitude. I said, this is what I'm most grateful for. That Baruch Hashem, you understand true Jewish values. So let's dive in. We will start with how we start our day. Anyone that loves my lectures and has watched many lectures, you will know that there's a few things that are very important of how I see things in Judaism. One is the firsts of anything. The first time something appears in the Torah. The first time the first thing that we are commanded as Jews to do when we get up in the morning, we open our eyes, we're all groggy, don't go right back and hit the snooze button. The first thing that we do is we say a bracha. We don't even wash our hands first. Every bracha you make has to be with clean hands, except for this one. This bracha is made the second you get up. This is the bracha. Modeh Ani lefnecha, melech chai v'kayam, shechazarta bi nishmasi, b'chamla rabba u'munasecha. This is how it's often translated. We'll get into why this is not the translation. I thank you, living and enduring God, for you have graciously returned my soul within me. Great is your faithfulness. They say that sleep is 1/60th of death. Your soul literally leaves the body, goes, back to its source, and is delivered back the next day. You literally die every night and then are reborn. when you feel like reborn in the morning, no matter like what troubles or traumas, from like, you literally feel like you're reborn. Like when the sun comes up anew, you feel like there's a fresh, as you say in Boston, like a fresh start, right? You feel like there's a fresh start. So one thing I'm most grateful for is my friend. We try to learn like at least once a week, but it's for a long time. Yesterday, I did a 4-hour and 50-minute walked 17 miles, and I talked to my friend for about 3 hours and 20 minutes. And we were just, and I said to him one time, I said to him yesterday, I said, you know what? Because I always try to see things from Hashem's perspective. I mean, when you're a child or an employee or a student, you're always supposed to see things from the people's perspectives that like have a lot of power and control over you and are the ones that can reward and punish you. So I said to him yesterday, I said, you know what? I honestly think that Hashem gets such nachas out of our lectures because they're fun. We're laughing. I'm not a rabbi. We're not like the biggest Torah scholars that are sitting there. We're just like regular people. We both had our highs and lows. We both like sort of came back to Judaism, and it's like the learning that we do is so special. It's so deep. We like part of this lecture is that like one of the things that we were talking about yesterday, and then like something just clicked in my head, Baruch Hashem. We just like feed off each other. So he mentioned something to me yesterday, and I said, dude, you need to send me this now so I can mention it in my lecture. If you take the first letter of Modeh Ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam shechazarta bi nishmasi b'chamla rabba munasecha. Take the first letters of all of those words, and what does it spell? The English translation is created with intention from Hashem. You take the first letters of the Modeh Ani prayer, which is what we are supposed to say the second we wake up every single day. So the first thing we do when we wake up is gratitude. Again, first matter in Judaism. If you watch my lectures, you'll know. First matters and order matters. The first thing that we do when we get up in the morning, how we start every single day as a Jew, is with one thing and one thing only: gratefulness. We say a bracha of being grateful. We are thanking God that He restored our soul and that we are alive to live another day. When my son was 10 months old, my wife got cancer. So this is one of the worst cancers. It was cancer of the vena cava. It's the vein that brings blood to the heart. Her yahrzeit is actually this Shabbos. So also, of course, this lecture and all the lectures also go to her in the Shaman. So there's basically, they didn't tell her it was a death sentence, but the chances of survival past 5 years is 14%. I got to see someone living life, like knowing time was not, you grow up, you think you're going to live, you see your grandparents, they're in their 80s and 90s, and you think you're going to live forever. It's not the case. For a lot of people, life is unfortunately cut short. The Modeh Ani prayer is literally trying to, what's prayer? It's supposed to get you focused on what's real and what matters. So the first thing that we are supposed to do when we wake up is literally get into the mindset where we are thanking God for another day. That literally is the prayer. We are thanking God that our soul came back down, was put back into our body, and we have a chance to earn as much mitzvahs and do as much good and learn as much Torah and be such a light to those around us for another 24 hours until we go to sleep again, wake up in the morning, and do it again. You can't, if you can't grasp this, you can't grasp the lecture. First impressions matter, right? I mean, first impressions are everything. There's so many people that might not have been qualified to get a job, but they made such a good first impression that the boss just took a flyer and said, you know what, I like this kid. I feel like this kid's going to be whatever. Also the reverse. Some people very qualified made terrible first impressions. The first impression of our day is literally just Modeh Ani. And notice the order of that, which we'll get to in a second. So I actually found something yesterday. There's something called Daily, Emunah Daily. I think they have a Facebook page, maybe even a website you can go to. Emunah Daily. They just have such beautiful quotes. It's just like one bomb after another, one per day. So this is the one from yesterday, and I felt like it flows so beautifully in today's episode. This is from Rav Sar Shalom of Belz, the Belzer Rebbe. No matter how far a person feels, Hashem is closer than his own breath, right? Hashem is right here. So the first thing that we do in the morning is we literally are just saying, Modeh Ani, thank you, Hashem, for another opportunity. I might not made the most of yesterday. I might not have made the most of the last month or the last year or even my life. But thank you for believing in me again, that you're giving me another opportunity to shine. Because without Hashem, we have what? What's Hashem's seal? MS, right? Aleph, Mem, Tav, MS. If you take away the Aleph, which is Hashem, right? If you are interested in Hebrew letters, you have to watch my 23-part Hebrew letter series. It is so powerful. Every single letter is delved into Baruch Hashem. So the Aleph, I started with the Aleph because the Aleph is Hashem, right? Hashem is one. Hashem Echad. Aleph Gematria is one for Echad. But if you take away the Echad from Emet, you're left with what? Mace, death. Without God and life, you are just existing. You are not living. You are spiritually dead. Again, Emet, Aleph, Mem, Tav. If you take away the Aleph, you just have Mem and Tav. You're just dead. So the first thing we do in the morning is we remind ourselves that we are alive because of one thing only, and that's that Hashem is giving us a new, fresh opportunity for greatness. And that's what it is. We all have the ability to be great. Don't just think, I'm stuck in this dead-end job. You're not stuck in a dead-end job. You can be great. You can make such an impact on the people around you at this job. Your friends, your family. You know, we're so used to thinking that we need to be a light amongst the nations. How about being a light amongst ourselves first? Now, order, right? What's the order of Modeh Ani? Because if you know anything about Hebrew, Modeh basically means grateful, thanks, but the true meaning is acknowledgement. So Modeh Ani is acknowledge I. It's not Ani Modeh. It's not I acknowledge. It's acknowledge I. The I comes after that initial acknowledgement. So this is what Sarah Esther Crispe writes. And I thought this was beautiful. Most translations render Modeh Ani as some version of I thank you. And rightfully so. It's literally a prayer that we're expressing gratitude. Right? Like I mentioned before, Judaism, sleep is 1/60th of death, according to Judaism. We are by no means guaranteed to wake up in the morning. So when we do, it's only proper that we take a moment to express gratitude for another day, for another opportunity to live our lives. It's both ironic and unfortunate that so many of us groan in annoyance that we have to get up. without recognizing the incredible blessing that we are able to experience. But the wording of Modeh Ani is a very powerful lesson. Grammatically, it would be correct to say, Ani modeh. I am thankful. But we say Modeh Ani. The words are in the reverse order, which literally translates as, thank you, I. The point is that the very first word that comes out of our mouths should be one of gratitude. We often spend the rest of our waking day focused on ourselves, our needs, our work, our wants, our desires. I, everything. Not with Modeh Ani. The I comes second. Who comes first? Just gratefulness for Hashem for giving us another opportunity. Only after we have said thank you do we then mention ourselves. Modeh Ani is much more than gratitude. The word modeh can mean thank, but it can also mean admit or acknowledge or surrender. Thanks is clearly about gratitude, surrendering to Hashem's will, not our own. Our will always comes second. Modeh comes first, the acknowledgement, the surrendering to Hashem, and then the Ani. Okay, we mentioned Yehuda before. Did an unbelievable lecture on when I think we can pinpoint that Yehuda became the Melech. You have to go back and watch that. Again, all the lectures are going to be on our new website. It'll be ON TORAH.com. For now, everything just go to eliakim.com. You can see all the lectures. If you go to YouTube and you put in, I think like Yehuda, just type in Yehuda, you'll see this lecture. It's very, very powerful. Because the most powerful thing about Yehuda is his name. Yehuda has 4 letters of Hashem's name in it. You know, Yehuda has the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey, and then also a Dalet. So clearly there's something special about Yehuda. And what's the most special? Again, you have to go back to the first time that you see the name Yehuda. The first time you see the name Yehuda is from Leah, his mother, being so grateful that she had a 4th child. The 4 wives knew that Yaakov was going to have 12 children. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. So after Leah had 3 children, she's like, okay, I've had my fill. Then she has the 4th. She is so abundantly grateful that she names her son Yehuda. It was the first time that someone had just thanked Hashem. That's why we're called Jews. Yehudim. B'nai Yehuda. We are B'nai Yehuda. I'm from the tribe of Levi. You know, some of you might be from other tribes. Some of you are converts. But we are called Yehudim. Why? Because we are a grateful nation. What's the pasuk? It's in Bereshit 29:35. And she, meaning Leah, conceived again and bore a son. And she said, this time I will thank the Lord. Because like I said, she thought she had her fill, 12 divided by 4. All 4 wives, like if they had 3, that would be the fair thing to do. But that's not how it happened. There were 6 for Leah, and then 2 and 2 and 2 for Rachel, Bilhah, and Zilpah. So Leah has this 4th, and she says, okay, let me do my math, carry the 1. Oh my gosh, I just got more than my fill. What's the first thing that I'm going to do? I'm going to name this kid, thank you, basically. Gratitude. This time I will thank the Lord. Therefore she named him Yehuda. And then she stopped bearing. That's the pasuk. That's the first time you hear Yehuda. So if we're going to be called Jews, you have to know where this came from. What's the first time Yehudim, Yehuda, showed up in the Torah? It was from an act of pure thanks, gratitude, acknowledgement of Hashem. So the next time you see, they call you a Jew, you're darn right they call us Jews. You should wear that with pride. I mean, I'm not saying, unfortunately, we've seen too often, we've been branded literally with. You should be so proud to be Jewish. The name itself stems from just pure, unadulterated gratitude of Leah. So again, like so many other times in life, how do you show proper thanks to Hashem? Like, we can't see Hashem. You can't give him a hug or send him She named her child just, I'm grateful, Hashem. That's how she named her child. When she birthed her fourth son, she recognized that she had been purely gifted. It was not just that she prayed and her prayers had been answered, but that God had provided her with the greatest blessing she hadn't even requested. She just wanted kids. She didn't want to take anyone else's, of 3, 3, 3, 3. It wasn't known that was what it was going to be. She just davened for children. She wanted to build part of the Jewish world. She was blessed with this fourth kid, and there was nothing else she could do. Hashem, I'm just so grateful. So I'm going to name my kid Yehuda. More so, it's a reminder to us that we never fully understand our situations and circumstances. But we're grateful for what we have. Then we find the meaning and purpose in who we are and what we're capable of. Who's rich? Who does the Pirkei Avos in the Talmud say who's rich? Someone that's happy with his portion. If you're always, oh gosh, you just got the Porsche, I'm only driving a Honda. I wish Hashem loved me then you're not great. You're ungrateful. So much of being ungrateful stems from very negative character traits. Jealousy, lust, honor. All of these things lead to this pit that is ungratefulness. This is why the Jewish people have been called by many names. But in the end, we are always just what? We're Yehudim. We're Jews, related to the name Yehuda. Judaism, therefore, can be understood as the means by which we can most fully express what we are at our core. Beings who are grateful to God and who show that appreciation. That's what it means to be a Jew. That literally is the name Jew. The Targum Yonasan on Bereshis 29:35 underscores the connection between gratitude and the royal lineage, right? Who's the Melech? Yehuda. It explains that Leah named her son Yehuda, which means praise. She wanted to express thanks to God. This act of gratitude is tied to the prophetic lineage of kings, as Judah is the ancestor of who? Yehuda is the ancestor of David HaMelech, ergo he's the ancestor of Mashiach. This act of gratitude was the first seed planted in Mashiach. And coming up is Purim, right? Purim is exactly 3 weeks today. Well, Shushan Purim is 3 weeks from today. Purim is 3 weeks from yesterday. How do I know this? Because my son's bris, when you're born on the 24th of Shvat, the bris is on Rosh Chodesh Adar, which is my favorite day of the year, other than it's my favorite of all Rosh Chodesh. And my birthday is actually Rosh Chodesh Sivan. But Rosh Chodesh Adar it's just, what's Mordechai called? Mordechai is called an Ish Yehudi. And then it says specifically that he's from the tribe of Benjamin. He's called an Ish Yehudi. Why? Because gratefulness is probably the most important thing that you can have as a Jew. And what's the proof? Again, the first thing you say when you wake up is Modeh Ani lefanecha. Thank you. Just thank you. Okay. How do we express thanks when we had a temple? We had the Korban Todah. It's funny, I didn't grow up observant, but we were very proud, a typical traditional family. But my dad never said thank you. He always said Todah, I don't know why. There was a few words that we only did in Hebrew in the house. I don't know why. Todah was always just, So there's something called the Korban Todah. A korban was a sacrifice that we brought in Jerusalem, in the temple, for many different reasons, right? There's a korban chatas. When we did a sin, we felt terrible. We could we could do tshuva for that by bringing this korban. We would show Hashem, we feel so terrible. We're bringing you this really, really expensive cow or sheep or whatever as I'm really sorry that my bad. But then there's the Korban Torah, probably the most beautiful of all the korbans. And here's why. The word korban is from the word kiruv, right? What's my foundation? It is a kiruv. The goal is to bring Jews closer to God. That's what kiruv means. So korban what? Korban brings us closer to God. It means offering or sacrifice, but its literal meaning is to draw near or to bring close. So we're offering this Korban Torah to do what? To bring ourselves close to Hashem. This signifies that the purpose of a Korban is not just to give something to God, but to create a closer relationship to Him. The Korban is an offering, a gift, a sacrifice that's brought near to God, signifying the worshiper's desire to draw closer to Him. The Gemara tells us there's 4 situations which obligate a person to bring this korban. One who has crossed the sea, one who has traversed the desert, one who was sick and became healed, one who was incarcerated and became free. Now listen to its distinctive features, because there's something with the Korban Torah we don't do with any other korban. And when you see the reasoning, you'll go, oh, that's so beautiful. Okay? Although it belongs to the category of the shlamim, the peace offerings, which are normally consumed over the course of 2 days, the Korban Torah must be consumed within 1 day and the following night. So again, every korban had a time consumption. All the korban shlamims, it's a category of the sacrifice, could be over 2 days, not the Korban Torah. It had a much speedier expiration date. In addition to the animal itself, the Torah commands that the person brings 40 loaves of bread, which need to be eaten along with the offering. So isn't this interesting? You're so grateful to Hashem. Not only do you have to bring the sacrifice, you got to bring 40 loaves of bread. So again, most people read Vayikra, Leviticus, and it's just so boring to them. And they'll never be able to glean what is so inherently beautiful about this particular korban. That's just in this section where people are okay, why do I care if we have to measure out this bit of flour and this bit of oil? Hashem hides the most beautiful things in the places that the fewest people look. Listen to what is so beautiful and powerful and spiritual and holy about this Korban Torah. We see that the Torah increased the amount of food to be consumed with the Korban Torah, while at the same time decreasing the amount of time. Again, Korban in the shlamim categories, the peace offerings, you had 2 days, and it was a very specific, animal that you would bring. With the Korban Torah, this thanks offering, you have less time to eat it, and you have to eat much more food. Why? The Torah is presenting the person with a fait accompli, right? With a situation that requires him to invite others to eat the korban with them. Look, these are the kind of things that we're going to, I do very long lectures, but they're not always going to be like that, because once the foundation is fully set up, I'm going to start doing little 60-second bursts of inspiration, little short 3-minute type clips, and then there's just going to be a whole cornucopia. So this is the kind of thing that I could do most of my lectures are like an hour and 40 minutes. This is the kind of thing that could just be a whole lecture in and of itself. But this is also the kind of thing that if someone heard this like as a short, it's very powerful. There's only one offering that the time is decreased, but the food is increased. And we know that being a glutton is not an option in Judaism. Ergo, the only path out there is that you need to invite people to eat this offering with you. And it has to be consumed with others. You have to share your thanks and your appreciation with your fellow Jews. The Sforno explains for all of this is that so he could tell others about the kindness that Hashem performed for him. You know, a miracle happened in your life, something you could see Hashem's hand. It's criminal for you to not share this with the world. I mean, all the stupid things you see on social media. Oh, look, I burned my, potato kugel. How about sharing something beautiful that will let other people know what an unbelievably extraordinary role Hashem plays in your life? That's the Korban Torah. You have to literally say to people, hey, I'm going to the Beis Hamikdash. Why? Did you do a sin? No, as a thank you. Oh, why are you thanking Hashem? Because Hashem did this. Wow, that's amazing. Come with me and eat this offering with me. I mean, what else is interesting about the 40 loaves? It's not just 40 loaves of bread. It's 30 matzahs and 10 breads. What's matzah? Humility. What's chametz? Again, on Pesach, when you're sitting there trying to get every crevice and crumb, if you're not understanding the underlying reason why we're doing this, then you're totally wasting your time. Matzah is just bread that didn't rise. It's egoless. It's humble. It didn't hit that 18-minute part where, it starts to fluff up and becomes what? Arrogant. These 40 loaves, you need 30 matzahs to do what? To keep you humble. Hashem did this unbelievable miracle for me because I'm such a tzaddik. No. Deflate a little bit. Look at the loaves that you're bringing. 30 are very, very, humble matzahs. 10 are actual breads. The combination of this large amount of meat and the 40 loaves of bread within a very short time forced the owner to invite many people to share in their meal, ensuring the miracle was publicly recounted and celebrated. Why are you obligated to light your Hanukkah menorah by a window that people can see? To do what? Publicize the miracle. There's a saying that all sacrifices will cease in the future, but the Korban Todah will remain as gratitude for Hashem's goodness. Now, just saying thanks is not enough. Just saying, oh, I said Modeh Ani, so I'm done. It's not enough. Hashem knows what's in your heart. Hashem knows what's in your mind. Hashem knows the reasons why you're doing it. What's the first example of someone that wanted to say thank you to Hashem, but blew it? Cain and Abel. Right? Did a whole lecture on them, on sacrifices. Listen to what it says that's so interesting about the wordage of when Cain and Hevel brought their sacrifices, right? They basically brought a Korban Torah. They wanted to thank Hashem, right? So Cain came first. Now it came to pass at the end of these days that Cain brought the first fruit of the soil as an offering to God. Cain was the first person in the Torah to just say thank you to God, right? Hevel, his brother Abel, came after him. Abel, he too brought of the firstborn of his flocks and of their fattest. And the Lord turned to Hevel, Abel, and his offering. But to Cain, and to his offering, he did not turn. And it annoyed Cain exceedingly, and his countenance fell. Again, words are so important. You could read this sentence 100 times every year, your whole life, learning Torah. But if you don't understand, Hashem turned to two things, and he turned away from two things. He turned to Hevel and his offering. He turned away from Cain and his offering. The question is why? Hevel came with what? In his heart, he wanted to show the most appreciation. So what did he bring? He brought of the firstborn of his flocks and of their fattest, meaning he looked and said, which one of these sheep is the most beautiful? This is the one I want to offer to Hashem. What does this say about Cain? He brought of the fruit of the soil. He brought a shlachi, as my son likes to say. He brought a shlachi offering. So Hashem did not turn to Cain and his offering. It's a two-part, turning and not turning. What was the first part? What is the true intention? What was really in their hearts? Yes, Cain might have been the first. Mazal tov, congratulations. But you didn't do it with good intention. You weren't really grateful. It was a burden to you. I got to show thank you, so let me just take the shlachi offering and bring it to Hashem. What's the proof? What does Hashem then say to Cain? Why are you annoyed? Why is your countenance fallen? Is it not so that if you improve, it'll be forgiven to you? Meaning, don't bring me a shlachi offering. You ever thanked your parent or had a child thank you or, oh, thanks. Torah. Thank you so much. That was amazing. You have no idea how much that helped me. Look at the difference. Just look. Again, so much of Torah is just common sense. Cain did not thank Hashem correctly. Ergo, Hashem did not turn to Cain, and he certainly didn't turn to his offering. Hevel, who didn't even initiate it, he came second. But he came with such pure, true emotions that Hashem turned to Hevel and also to his offering. Is it not so that if you improve, meaning, come on, man, I'm God. I gave you life. I appreciate you bringing me the sacrifice, but don't bring me the shlachi sacrifice. Don't just mumble things. Show me you just went out of your way to do a really big favor for someone, and you got a WhatsApp. Thanks. Not even the courtesy of a call. Now again, did you do it because you need the thanks? Absolutely not. But does it make you feel good? Does it foster a better relationship when someone calls and says, I cannot believe that you did that. You have no idea how much time that saved me, or you just opened up a whole new. Be thankful, be grateful. We're so disconnected from people now. People think that a thank you is just, what's up? Where's the easiest way that we show thanks to Hashem? Prayer, right? Tefillah. We say the Shemona Esrei, right? 18 prayers. It's really 19 prayers. The last part of the Shemona Esrei, there's the first part and the third part are constant. We say that in every single prayer. The middle part, during the week, it's a certain section. On Shabbos, it's a certain section. On different holidays, it's a certain section. But the middle and last part are the same. The first three brachas are basically for Avram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And then the last part is literally just gratitude for Hashem. So the three prayers are, we're thanking Hashem for the Holy Temple and its service, and that it should be restored. We thank God for keeping us alive and providing for us constantly. And then we're davening for much peace and goodness in our lives. We're thanking Hashem for peace and goodness in our lives. What else do we do? The Shechianu prayer, right? I wear a new tie every Shabbos. I try to make one aspect of Shabbos unique that no other Shabbos ever again will have that Even if I did the same exact thing for the entire day, one thing will be different, and that it's a different tie. So I messaged one of my rabbis, and I said, look, I buy a new tie every week for Shabbos. They're not expensive ties. I don't need a $300 silk tie from some probably gay in Paris, put his name on it, that everyone, including religious Jews now, are like running after because, their friends will think that they're so successful. No, I just like very, very nice looking ties. And they happen to be, pretty good quality too. So I said, I do this specifically likvod Shabbos, to honor Shabbos. This is my way and a small way that I can honor Shabbos. Can I say the Shechianu prayer? Because the Shechianu prayer is literally just an expression of gratitude. It's for we say a Shechianu on a new house, on a new suit, on a new car, like every new holiday. We say Shechianu. Literally, it just means gratitude. He said, sure. I said, even though the tie's it's not like I'm spending $500,000 on a silk whatever tie. He said, no, of course you can say you're thanking Hashem. You're trying to make something special. Of course you can say it. So every single Shabbos, my son picks out my tie, and then we say the Shechianu. I say it, and he says amen. That's our Erev Shabbos tradition. Again, we don't have it within our means to properly thank Hashem. We can live for eternity, God willing. We'll never be able to truly thank Hashem. But you can do it in small ways. You can show Hashem. Again, Hevel had the intention. Cain didn't have the intention. My intention with the Shechianu is Hashem. I lived 27 and a half of my years without Shabbos. I'm so thankful for Shabbos. This is something unique that I do, that I love, that I look forward to. My son and I love picking out the ties. Just thank you. It literally is just an expression of thank you. The Shechianu prayer, that's important, is to express gratitude for a new, special, or unusual experience. It emphasizes recognizing and appreciating the moment. That's so important. That's what my friends do when they buy that whiskey. It's a special moment. They know it's a special moment. They're so grateful. How do we express gratefulness? What can we give Hashem? What's in your heart? Hashem knows what's in your heart. He knows what's in your mind. He knows if you're just, fluffing him. He also knows if you truly, and again, the monetary part is not important. There were some people that their Korban Torah could only be something very small. They didn't have the means to buy the most expensive cow. And it says, specifically in the Gemara, it doesn't matter what the sacrifice were. Hashem understands. I gave this person the means. They can buy a very nice cow to sacrifice for me. I didn't give this person the means for whatever reason. They can only buy a dove, a pigeon. But what does it say? It's the intention that matters. Both are getting the same exact credit. When you don't have a lot of money and you donate $180, and then the billionaire donates $180,000, your donation might be way more powerful, and you might get way more mitzvahs because Hashem says, wow, this person doesn't have a lot. And look what they're willing to spend for one of my Jewish charities. And look at this guy, he's a billionaire, but look at how cheap he is. $180,000 is like a penny falling out of his pocket. Everything is with the intention. That is what we learned from Cain and Hevel. Now, when's the best time to be grateful? When you have what you want. When you have abundance. When you have so many blessings in your life. That's the time to just take a step back and say, you know what, gosh, I'm so grateful for this, and for this, and for this. I know so many people that don't have this, or struggle with this, or they're missing this. Yes, everyone in life has things that they want, that they wish they had. Shlomo Melech, who had more of anything than anyone's ever had. He had more money than anyone's ever had. He had more beautiful wives than anyone's ever had. He had more wisdom than anyone's ever had. And he says specifically, no one has ever gone through life and even gotten to half of their desires. You get the unbelievable $4 million Bugatti. Well, the next year there's a $5 million Bugatti that you don't have. I mean, do you see how Hashem created the world? You're so happy you bought that new 2026 whatever. Ain't going to be as good as the 2027. That's a guarantee. Have you ever just sat there and just said, gosh, thank you? It's hard because we're always wanting more. It's hard to just say thankful. I'm so grateful for what I have. You know, you walk past a homeless person. My uncle, Oliver Shalom, he had a very close friend. So my dad, me, and my uncle and this friend, we went to the Yale-Penn football game. My uncle went to Penn. We went to the Yale-Penn football game. You know, Ivy League football games before everyone became a Jew hater. They were a spectacle. So we lived in Boston, so this game I think it was in Pennsylvania. We also went to one at Yale. But anyway, I was I think I was 6, maybe 7 years old. Might have been 6, actually. I found $20 on the ground, and I was so excited. I mean, $20 for a 6-year-old kid back in 1986 was psh. But then I saw a homeless black guy. It's maybe like an hour or two later. And it broke my heart. I mean, homelessness should break anyone's heart, but for some reason, it's just, to me, it's just the saddest thing in the world. You know, everyone has they see a cancer patient, or there's something in everyone's life that literally just breaks them. Homelessness, to me, just, it should be for everyone. But I'm just saying, ever since I was a kid, it was just something that crushed me. So I went up to him and I gave him this $20. And again, you have no idea how excited I was to get this $20. And my uncle's friend, every single time that he saw my uncle, would always ask about me, because it just made the biggest impression on him. And I did it naturally. I mean, again, kids have very amazing traits that Hashem they're in there. Yes, you try to cultivate them, but again, you can have triplet kids. One kid just gives away all his toys, the other one hoards all the toys. So a lot of things are just, I have this soft spot for tzedakah and for homelessness. So to me, I found the money. I didn't need the money. This guy just made me sad. I gave it to him. And my uncle would always say, oh, I just saw, my friend, he always asked about you. He said he never stops bringing up that. He couldn't believe it. He was a 6, 7-year-old kid. And it made me feel good. It made me, at a young age, it made me feel good that to have like a nice impact for something good, right? So I had the abundance. I had the $20. I was thinking, okay, I'll get like 20 packs of Big League Chew or something. But then I saw someone with nothing, and it just made me grateful. How did I show this gratefulness? I gave away the $20. What's tzedakah? In Judaism, tzedakah and hodah, which means gratefulness, like Yehuda, it's from hodah, are intrinsically linked, with giving seen as a tangible expression of gratitude for blessings. I mean, so many people have messaged me and said, wow, I love your lecture. I got so much out of the lecture. I want to sponsor one. A, just as a thank you to me. And B, if you listen to my lectures, you'll know the reward you get for learning Torah, 60,000 mitzvahs an hour. It's a no-brainer. So specifically, someone that just sponsored Zachariah, he sponsored the letter Tzadi. He said, he messaged me on Facebook, and he's like, wow, I just watched your lecture on the Zion, because his name's Zachariah. He said, I was just blown away at how much, information is on just a letter. He said, I'd love to sponsor one of your lectures. What's tzedakah? Tzedakah means righteousness. It's, if someone helps you out in life, how do you thank them? You say thank you. You try to do them a favor. You give tzedakah to maybe something that matters to them, or an organization. There's so many ways to do it. Tzedakah is literally righteousness. It's acknowledging Hashem as the source of all prosperity. We are obligated to shear off minimum 10%, maximum 20%, and then give this to causes that matter to you, to people that matter to you, to organizations that matter to you. So what am I doing with ON TORAH? I'm not asking people, give me $1 million for a new bill. I don't need any of that. I just need 2 people other than me that are unbelievable with graphics and AI stuff that we can just churn out. And I have examples. All I'm asking is what? $18. $18 a month. That's what we're asking. People that can give more, okay. If you can give more, that's great. I'm certainly not turning down if you can give $180. But we're asking for a little. Why? To do a lot. Because if you appreciate Judaism and you appreciate like a video of ours that you're going to see, what's the easiest way to just express gratitude? You just, you know what? I want to be a part of this. You guys are doing great things. I want to be a part of it. How do we sign up? Boom. We'll send you the link when it's ready. That's gratitude. But specifically, gratitude is very easily shown with tzedakah. Not giving 10% of your money is such a terrible and costly sin in Judaism. The Gemara, the Midrash are replete with stinginess. Because what? Stinginess is saying what? Not giving tzedakah is what? I earn the money. I have a $180,000 salary at, Bernstein and Horowitz law firm. I work my tush off. I went through law school. I'm the reason I have that money. That money's mine. No. That money was given to you on Rosh Hashanah by Hashem. Your salary means nothing. Because if Hashem doesn't want you to make $180,000, what happens? Terrible illness, chas v'shalom. Your house burns down, chas v'shalom, and your insurance lapsed the day before. Actually, just happened to one of my parents' friends. Their insurance literally lapsed, and then they had some catastrophic flood in Tampa a few years ago, and boom, they lost everything. So at the beginning of the year, the wealthy people, they said, going to make $400,000. No, you're not. You're going to lose $2 million on your house. That's reality. So what's such an easy way to show gratitude? And it's a dual thing. Hashem commands you to do it. So you're showing gratitude to Hashem by just literally fulfilling the mitzvah, because mitzvah means commandment. It doesn't mean good deed. And then you're getting the reward for literally picking a good charity to give to, and then getting the merit for that. It is such a no-brainer. Giving to others is a direct acknowledgement that one's own blessing comes from Hashem. And it's a method with which to do what? Bless others. People sponsor my lecture. I then spend hours putting together another lecture, which does what? Other people benefit. They're clearly benefiting, but other people also benefit. I mean, the people that have started watching this lecture started keeping Shabbos, or started keeping Shabbos again, or elevated their Judaism. Everyone's now benefiting from this. The combination of a grateful, appreciative mindset and the act of giving fosters what? An unbelievable power to transform their own lives and the worlds around them, bringing what? Positive change. Tzedakah is not just helping the poor. There's organizations out there that have money, but they need more money to do unbelievable things. I mean, there's charities out there that have hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay, but they're doing hundreds of millions of dollars of unbelievable work. When's another time you give charity? Before what? Prayer. It's customary to give charity before praying. There's actually a specific section during the pre-Shemona Esrei prayers that we, it's the an auspicious time to give. Why? Because we're saying to Hashem, you bless me with everything. Here I am, shearing off whatever it is, a shekel, 25 cents, whatever it is, whatever's in your means. Before I pray to you, before I thank you, before I bless you, before I want to connect to you, because that's what prayer is. Here, I want to also show you that I understand how the world works. Okay, Now let's flip. Ungrateful. Ungratefulness, I honestly can't think of a more disgusting midda, like personality trait. And I'll tell you from my own experience. After putting my parents through 7 years of just nonstop cocaine use and lies and, oh yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. And what I'm most ashamed for is the ungratefulness that I showed my parents. Because every parent, I mean, the amount of time that you invest in a child, it's like, it's unbelievable. Or a teacher and a student. I mean, there used to be this guy that davened with us at the Sands, Hasidic hotel in Netanya. And I'd see sometimes he's just sitting in shul grading papers. And he's really like grading every one of the, it's like Gemara, it was Talmud, like stuff from his students. I mean, he was there for our entire davening, just sitting in the back grading papers. So someone that doesn't care, just, okay, this kid's usually getting an A, I'll give him an A. Like, I'm tired. No, he's really going through. He wants these kids to grow. He wants them to. So one of his students that treats him, it's such a level of ungratefulness. And again, kids don't really understand. But as you get older, I mean, it's such a terrible quality. Perhaps the worst thing of all. Why was the world destroyed during the flood? Because of what? Robbery. Taking something that's not yours is such an ungrateful act to Hashem. But what was even worse than that? And what's the proof in the Torah? Listen to this. This is mind-blowing. We're talking about Yosef and his brothers, okay? Yosef's brothers come down to Mitzrayim. Yosef tells them, hey, how's your, you have a father, you have a brother. Okay, you need to bring your youngest son down. So they go up, they finally bring Binyamin down. They don't know that it's Yosef, but Yosef knows that it's his brothers. And he tells his brothers, you're going to come, you're going to eat with me. He hosts them for like a lavish meal. They eat, they drink. He treats them unbelievably well. He gives them provisions to go back on the way. And then we know that Yosef told his oldest son Menashe to like sneak something into Binyamin's sack. Right? It was a ruse to get them to do tshuva. So here's the scene. Right? This is in Bereshis. They served him and his family separately. And them, his brothers, separately. And the Egyptians who were eating with him separately. For the Egyptians could not eat a meal together with the Hebrews, since this was an abomination. The brothers were seated before Yosef, the firstborn according to his seniority, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men looked at each other in amazement. He had portions served to them from his table. Binyamin's portion was 5 times as much as the others. They drank with him and became intoxicated. Right? That he sends them on their way. He treats them very nicely, right? Yosef is literally like the most powerful person in the world, probably even more powerful than Paro. Then listen to what, we know it's Menashe. It doesn't say so in the Torah. It just says like his, the overseer of his household, but we know that was his oldest son, Menashe. Listen to what it says. Again, stealing is so despicable because you are basically saying, Hashem does not run the world. Hashem does not allot me my portion on Rosh Hashanah. I need to take something from someone else in order to be made whole. And again, the world was destroyed. Hashem looked down and he saw what? Hamas means robbery, right? Which is literally what the Palestinians are. They try to rob us of our entire culture and history and facts and everything. But there's something worse than robbery. Something worse than theft. Listen to this. Again, every sentence that you read in the Torah has national libraries filled with commentary that will blow your mind. Here's the kicker. They had barely left the city and not yet gone far when Joseph said to the overseer of his household, set out and pursue them. Set out and pursue those men. And when you catch up with them, say to them this. Why did you repay good with evil? Not why did you steal my special goblet? Why did you repay good with evil? Ergo, Why were you ungrateful? I treated you nicely. You repaid me with ungratefulness. Again, everything is right in the pasuk here. He didn't say to them, why were you a thief? Again, a thief is such a disgusting... Why did you repay good with evil? You do someone a favor, then they just stab you in the back. What is that? It's repaying good with evil. It's being ungrateful. Right in the portion. Right in the Torah portion. Right in the parsha. Yosef and his brothers. Why did you repay good with evil? In Jewish tradition, particularly according to the rabbinic commentary in Musar, which means ethics, ungratefulness is considered one of the most severe character flaws, often described as a fundamental failing that acts as a root for other sins. Like I said, ungratefulness leads to horrible. It's like a disgusting seed planted that takes root in this like horrifying, Robert Frost type tree, grows. It's a terrible character trait. It's viewed as the total lack of hakarat hatov, which means recognizing the good, which is considered a foundation for a person's humanity and relationship with God. Here's how ungratefulness is viewed in the Torah and Judaism. The Brisker Rav is quoted as saying that someone who is not makir tova, does not recognize favors, is not merely an imperfect human, but rather not a human at all. Because gratitude is considered a basic component of humanity. Wow. I would not want the Brisker Rav, the holy Brisker Rav, to have thought that I wasn't human. But that literally is what I was. All those years of just being so ungrateful. It's the root of idolatry and evil. Ungratefulness is viewed as an underlying cause of spiritual decay. When the Bnei Yisrael, the Israelites, complained in the wilderness, it was seen as what? A failure to appreciate God's miracles, which led to what? Egel Zahav, golden calf. They get out of Egypt. First sign of problem. This is terrible. We want to go back to Egypt. Why did Hashem do this? He literally just took you out of Egypt. He literally took you out from slavery. He literally split the sea, and you don't find water in the first 10 seconds, and all of a sudden you become ungrateful. And what did that lead to? It led to idolatry. Parshas Hazinu. We're called what? An Am Naval. We'll get to that in a sec. Moshe calls the people an Am Naval, a vile, foolish people. And the second to last parsha, Parshas Hazinu. For not showing what? Gratitude to Hashem. It's literally in the words of Hazinu. He calls them a vile, foolish people for one thing only, not being grateful to God for all the miracles he showed, all the goodness he bestowed, and you still angered him and tested him and complained against him at every turn. The term navel, which comes from naval, is also associated with nevela, which is a dead animal carcass. Right? We're not allowed to eat a nevela. We're only allowed to eat an animal if it's been like shechted according to Jewish law. Can't just say, oh, it's a dead cow. Let's eat kosher food now. Has to be shechted. Suggesting that ingratitude leads to a state of spiritual deadness. We'll talk about this at the end, but who is called the ultimate ingrate? Paro, right? The Torah portrays Paro as someone what? A new king came who did not know Yosef. All the goodness that Yosef bestowed upon Egypt with his suggestion to set aside the food that they would have in the storage houses for the famine. And Paro just forgets all the good that this nation has brought to his country. Where do we see this in modern time? Do you know what the German Jews did for the country? Higher-ups in the military, industrial might, everything. And they were turned on in a second. We're seeing this in America right now as well. It's also the worst trait for relationships. That's what it's called. A grateful person is easier to make happy and content. A person with chronic ingratitude is considered deeply flawed, even described as unfit to marry. Why? Because it's so connected with what? Pride and arrogance. Well, idolatry, murder, and sexual immorality, the three things you're not allowed to engage in, even to save your own life, they're known as the three cardinal sins of Judaism. But ungratefulness is viewed as the spiritual and psychological cause that leads to those and other serious infractions. I mean, so again, you take the three cardinal sins, the three worst sins in Judaism, and they're like three trees with one connected root. What's that one connected root? Ingratitude. Wow. Speaking of Naval was actually a person. A very little known person. Why? Because most people just don't learn Tanakh. They might know about the 5 books. They know a little bit about, crossing into the land. Who's Naval? Naval was a boorish man who was married to Abigail, who the Talmud says is one of the most beautiful people that ever lived. He ends up dying, and she marries David HaMelech. Here's the neon light pasuk about Naval. Listen to this. Let not my Lord take heed of this base fellow of Naval, for like his name, so is he. Again, a name is the essence of a person. We've done so many lectures on names, and I highlight this a lot. My name is Eliakim Raphael. Eliakim means my God stands me up, which clearly he did, and also my God heals. So my entire life story is imbued in my name. Naval, on the other hand, is such a terrible person because he is his name. This is literally in Shmuel 1, 25. Samuel 1, 25. You can read it yourself. Let not my Lord take heed of this base fellow of Naval, for like his name, so is he. Naval is his name, and ungratefulness is with him. And I, your handmaid, this is from Abigail. His own wife said this to King David, and he eventually married this woman. King David eventually married this woman. So she's literally saying, she's trying to get him to not kill Naval because he treated David really poorly, and she's saying don't kill him. He is his name. This is just who he is. So what did he do that was so bad? David's men protected the flocks of a wealthy, harsh man named Naval, acting as a wall for his shepherds. When Naval refused to provide food in return, an enraged David planned to kill him. But Naval's wise wife, Abigail, intervened, preventing a massacre and preserving David's reputation. This happened while David was running from King Saul, and his men protected Naval's 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats in Carmel from bandits. During sheep shearing, a time of celebration and hospitality, David requested provisions as payments for their protection. Naval scorned David, calling him a runaway slave, and refused. David, offended, ordered 400 men to arm themselves and kill Naval and every male in his household. Why? What did Naval do? Did he curse David? Did he, insult them? No, he was just ungrateful. His name means ungrateful. David did him a solid, and when he needed a solid, it wasn't to be. Naval is presented as the archetype of an ungrateful and foolish man, whose name literally means fool or senselessness. It is foolish. It is really, really senseless that someone does you a favor. Someone does you something beneficial, and you don't respond in kind, or you don't even acknowledge it. Because again, modeh means acknowledge. That is a foolish, senseless thing to do. And it's the definition of being ungrateful. Naval's name is literally ungrateful. David politely asked for provisions during a festive time. Naval responded contemptuously, "Who is David? Who is the son of Yishai? There are many slaves nowadays who run away from their masters." I mean, he's talking to who's going to be the king, right? And this directly led to his downfall. Naval in Hebrew is a fool, vile person, or scoundrel, denoting someone morally corrupt rather than intellectually deficient. It doesn't mean a bore like, a guy with no education that just, started working at a whatever and he's not worldly. That's not what it means. It means he was morally deficient, not intellectually deficient. He was morally corrupt. In the Tanakh, a naval is typically characterized by willful godlessness and a rejection of ethical standards. So when Moshe calls the Jewish people an am naval, it's something to take to heart. Willful godlessness. Forgetting about Hashem's goodness. Literally, that's what it is. Okay, now, this is my own little chiddush, and I'm very proud. And I'm not proud because I'm proud of myself. I'm proud that I think that this was a gift that Hashem gave my friend and I yesterday. Because I have never in my life learned anything about Naval other than one specific thing in the Sefer Ein Yaakov. I've never talked about him. I've never mentioned him in a lecture. So the day that I'm learning this and I'm telling my friend about this, later on, 2 hours later, we start talking about Lavan, right? So Naval and Lavan are the same exact letters, just literally flipped. Right? So as we're talking about it, and then something came up about Lavan, and I shut my eyes and I went, oh. I said, dude, I think that Naval and Lavan are the same exact letters, just flipped. And then my friend said, oh my God, that's amazing. Then we started talking about all the connections that made them similar. So I feel like it was like a burst of lightning from Hashem as just because I said to my friend, I feel like Hashem gets a lot of nachas. We're just two regular people. It's not there's always these stories in in recent times of the biggest rebbeim. They'll meet at a wedding or something and they're learning together. And you can only imagine the two biggest rabbis in the world learning together. What just unbelievable. So this is just my friend and I. I mean, two very spiritual, wanting to always grow and this bolt of lightning in a topic that I've never learned about. And now we have an actual connection. Naval is literally ungrateful. Lavan was the first to really be ungrateful in the Torah. How? In Bereshis, Lavan explicitly acknowledges that God blessed him with wealth solely because of Yaakov's presence and his labor. It literally is in the pasuk. What does it say? Bereshis 30:27. I have learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me for your sake. Meaning, all of my wealth now. Why does it say that Rachel came out to the well? Because Lavan had no sons. He had no sons until Yaakov got to Haran. He had no sons. When Yaakov came, he was blessed financially and with sons. He admits it. I have learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me because of you. Despite his prosperity, Lavan acts as a deceiver who changes Yaakov's wages 10 times. He fails to value Yaakov's contributions, leading to a strained, exploitative relationship. God even has to intervene to protect Yaakov from Lavan's greed, ensuring that all those different, cattle were born and they would go to Yaakov, regardless of Lavan's tricks. Lavan is viewed in the Jewish tradition as an archetype of the deceiver, whose ungrateful and grasping nature is contrasted with God's promise to protect and bless the patriarchs. What does it say in Bereshit 29? What's the proof? Rachel goes to the well because she is a shepherdess for her father Laban. That's what it says. Again, women didn't go to the well. Men went to the well. Teenager, like kids, went to the well. Boys, men. Not Rachel. Why does Rachel go to the well? Because her father didn't have any sons, right? And then it says what? On that day, Laban also removed the he-goats that were white ankle-ringed, in addition to all the other goats. He then left all the animals that he took in the charge of his sons. So he has no sons. Yaakov comes. Now he has sons, plural, multiple sons. Just like Yaakov had 11 kids while he was in Haran with Laban, Laban also had sons. And what does he do? He chases after Yaakov, and he wanted to kill him. Yaakov was angered. He took up his grievance with Laban. Yaakov spoke up to Laban and said, "What's my crime? What's my guilt that you have hotly pursued me? During these 20 years that I've been with you, your ewes and she-goats never miscarried, nor did I ever eat a ram or anything else from your flocks. I never brought you an animal maimed by a wild beast, even though I was not required to absorb its loss. I would bear its loss because you would have unfairly exacted its value from my hand. Furthermore, I absorbed the loss of every stolen animal, whether it was stolen by day or by night. This is how I existed. I was consumed by day by scorching heat and at night by frost, and sleep deserted my eyes. It's now 20 years I've been in your household. I've worked for you 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years for your flock, and you have changed the conditions of my payment 100 times. If the God of my father, who is the God of Avram and of Yitzhak's dread, had not been with me, you would have sent me off empty-handed. But now God saw my plight and the toil of my hands, and he rebuked you last night." Naval and Lavan, they're the same person. I'm not saying they're like Gogulim. I haven't researched that yet. But they're mamish the same person. They are two ungrateful people that could not respond to an act of kindness. And it's literally right in the Pesukim of the Tanakh. One's in Sefer Bereshis and one is in Sefer Shmuel Aleph. Unbelievable. Now, let's go back to our first impressions. Modeh is a Hebrew word meaning acknowledgement. I admit or acknowledge or surrender. We colloquially translate it as I'm thankful. But again, it's not really what the word is. When we wake up in the morning, the first thing that we do is what? The first thing is admit, acknowledge, surrender, and then comes the I. The first thing that we are supposed to do when we get up in the morning is just new day, fresh start, new opportunities from Hashem. That's how we start our day. That's the first impression. Modeh implies a deep, grateful acknowledgement of life, commonly used to thank God for restoring our soul after sleep. It's beyond just thank you. Again, the translation never does it justice when it's translated into any language. The word carries the meaning of admitting or surrendering, signifying recognizing that there is a spiritual higher power that has granted us a blessing of a new day that we should be committed to with all of our heart and all of our soul. Now, right now we're in Sefer Shmos, right? Leaving Egypt, story of the plagues, all the fun stuff. What's the most perfect example from the Torah of gratefulness? How about the name of Moshe? Okay? What does it say about Moshe? Vayigdal hayeled, vativehu lavas paro, vahila lava vatikra shemo Moshe, vatomer ki min hamayim mishisihu. What does that translate as? When the child grew up, right, Basia takes Moshe out of the Yam, basically gives her back to his mom, even though he doesn't know that it's his mom. She weans him, and then at some point brings her Moshe back to Basia. Basia names him Moshe, explaining, I drew him out of the water. Moshe's name was not Moshe. Moshe has 7 different names. That was not the name given to Moshe at birth. Yet it is how we know him. It is how Hashem calls him. It is his name in the Torah. But that wasn't his birth name. But it is the name that he goes by now for all eternity. Why? Who rescued him from the water? Basia. As a sign of gratitude that Hashem is trying to show the world, but specifically the Jewish world, the name that he goes by is just being grateful for the woman that took him out of the water. So his birth name was not Moshe, but later on, for the rest of history, he is known by what? Moshe. God calls him Moshe. God doesn't call him Tuvia or Yekusiel or Geder or Chaver. He had so many names. He had 7 different names. But we only know him as Moshe. Why would Moshe keep this name if it was given to him by an Egyptian, not even his mother or father, nor was it given by God, right? Oh, thank God it didn't. Sorry. Thank God it didn't end the broadcast. Okay. So we don't go by the name that his mom called him, or that his father called him, or even that Hashem calls him. Although Moshe had 7 names, it is by the name that he received from Basia that he is remembered. More significantly, it's the only name that God himself addresses Moshe as. So extraordinary was Basia's act of kindness that she was willing to risk death at the hands of Paro in order to save this child. Paro made a decree. You have to kill the babies. So someone taking the baby out of the water would be what? Going against the decree of the king, even if it's her father. It was specifically this action that became the basis for the name of the greatest prophet who has ever lived. As one contemporary Hasidic Rebbe pointed out, it's significant that the name given to Moshe by Basia is a word based on the act of saving his life and not on the feelings of mercy that Basia experienced. The details of one of the Torah's central lessons quite beautifully is we can claim to feel a variety of things, but it's our actions in the world that make a lasting impact. A person's name in Hebrew, a Jewish person's Hebrew name, is intimately connected with a person's soul, both its source and its mission in the world. Not only is Moshe's name a homage to the woman who rescued him and raised him, it also reflects the way he led life. When God threatened to destroy the Jewish people after the sin of the golden calf, Moshe demanded, erase me. Micheni na. Erase me, please, from your book. In fact, all of his actions were based on self-sacrifice for his fellow Jew, a trait he acquired from what? Basia's daring rescue of him as an infant. How did Moshe show appreciation for this? Moshe himself did not strike the water during the first 2 plagues. Why? Because he was rescued from water. Right? The plague of dam, blood, and Sfardeia, frogs, involved hitting the Yam, hitting the Nile with a stick. The Nile saved Moshe. He was floating in that Moses basket. I know, because we used to sell them at our baby furniture store in Atlanta. So Moshe did not strike the ground. As what? A small demonstration of hakarat hatov, gratitude towards the Nile, which saved him as an infant. Instead, Hashem instructs Aaron to initiate these plagues to show appreciation for the water that protected Moshe. What else happened with water where Moshe erred? and it was thereby punished where he could not go into the land. In Sefer Bamidbar, Moshe does strike the rock when he's told to speak to the rock, to bring forth water instead of speaking to it. This act of disobedience, due to anger, resulted in him not being allowed to go into the land of Israel. This distinction highlights a profound ethical lesson in Judaism. The importance of acknowledging the good in all things, even those that appear inanimate or a part of a negative situation. Moshe was saved by the water. He ended up being punished by the water. I'll give you a perfect example in my life before we end. There were 2 times I got pulled over with lots of cocaine in my car or very high in cocaine. One time I was leaving, buying it in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was just so excited to get home and do it. I was going very fast on an overpass. It's probably going, you could probably go 35, and I think I was going 52. Not so fast, but my eyes were bulging because I was already high for the night. And I remember a cop pulled me over, and I had a lot of coke, and I ended up putting it on the floor. It spilled everywhere. So he shines his flashlight in, and my eyes are and he said, "Where's the fire?" I said, "Sir, I'm so sorry. I know it's going a little fast. I'm really, really sorry." He said, "Come on, slow down." I said, "You're right. So really sorry." I felt so good. I felt like the weight was lifted. Had he searched through the car, instantly would have gone to jail. Probably 2 to 3 years later was the night when I got into my high-speed car chase. It was a 45-minute car chase from the police. It started when I was on the wrong side of the road. As I'm veering to the right side of the road, I literally almost clipped a police officer. So, he starts following me, the chase happens, whatever. End up going to jail, whatever, but it was the incident that turned my life around. How do we end this? Acknowledging the good in all things, even those that appear as part of a negative situation. So I was so grateful. The first time I did not get arrested, even though I should have. But after that, I was still doing cocaine for another 2 to 3 years. Had I been arrested then, I might have turned my life. So again, that time that I was so grateful, it ended up being something that, maybe I wish happened differently. The time when I was so annoyed that I got arrested and my life's over, turns out I'm so grateful for. Again, Gamza Latova. When you're appreciative of Hashem for everything, the seemingly good and the seemingly bad, life will change forever. A perfect example. There's a guy I'm friends with. Met him one time. I mentioned his name because he posted it publicly, and his name's Danny Cohen, and I mentioned before in one lecture, he was about to become the general manager of a new restaurant that's opening in New York, kosher restaurant. He was so excited, and I was so excited for him. And he had just posted some stuff on Facebook about Modeh Ani, and the company decided not to. They let him go. And he said, "I'm so disappointed, but everything Hashem does is for the good, so ergo this is good." And you could tell he really feels this. Obviously, he's disappointed. So I wrote to him. I said, "Bro, first of all, you're much better off without a company that would muzzle you. Secondly, clearly Hashem has something much better to send you." So he what? He acknowledged the good in a situation that seemingly seems not good. Why? Because he's a grateful person to Hashem. When you're grateful to Hashem, you relate to people and situations and events differently. Who is ungrateful? Paro, right? Not only did Paro not, says that he, didn't remember Yosef. What did Paro do that we don't see in the Torah per se? It says that Moshe went out to meet Paro in the morning as he's coming out to the water. What does that mean? Paro thought of himself as a god. He wanted his people to think of him as a god. Well, gods don't need to go to the bathroom. So Paro would awake early in the morning before anybody else, and he would go to the Nile River, and he would defecate in the Nile River. What was the Nile River for the Egyptians? A, it was like actually a god for them. B, the entire material abundance of Egypt comes through the Nile overflowing. So you have, again, the most grateful person that probably has ever lived was Moshe. It's literally his name. And he's going out to meet the most ungrateful person that ever. It's like this unbelievable clash of the titans, but from a baseline of grateful and ungrateful. Paro literally defecated in the Nile, which brought blessing to the country. Jews daven for rain in Israel, right? We have a unique relationship with Hashem in the land of Israel vis-a-vis rain. The Nile overflows. That's just what it does, and it irrigates the land. So you literally have the king of Egypt defecating in the Nile. What could be more ungrateful? Now, speaking of the Egyptians, what is the proof of just how the lengths that we have to go to? I want to end with this to show you just how the lengths that we need to go to be grateful. Okay? There's a very bizarre, I want to say bizarre because very interesting halacha. We are not allowed to abhor an Egyptian because we were a sojourner in their land. This is Devarim 23:8. We can't hate an Egyptian because they were nice enough to let us live in their land. Okay, there was forced labor. There was oppression and beatings. There was a denial of basic provisions. There was infanticide, psychological misery. They would make women do men's jobs, men do women's jobs, physical and spiritual oppression, and just flat out murder. Yet Hashem is saying to us, we went down to Egypt. We became a nation. We became the Bnei Yisrael, actually not in Israel. For that, you have to have gratitude. Again, there is a mitzvah, doraisa. You shall not abhor an Egyptian. You were a sojourner in that land. What part of that sojourning do we have to be grateful for? Hashem's telling you, you have to be grateful. Because again, look at all the amazing things that came out of that. We became the nation because of being in Egypt. Because of the Jewish people being in that crucible known as Egypt, we became the Bnei Yisrael. We became the Jewish people. Ergo, Hashem says, you shall not abhor an Egyptian because you were a sojourner in that land. I don't think there's a more fitting way to end. Meaning what? Even the littlest, seemingly insignificant compliment, benefit, favor, anything that has been done to you, go above and beyond to show gratitude. Could be with a neighbor, could be with a sibling, could be with a parent, could be with a teacher, could be with an employee, specifically with Hashem. Stop using Hashem as, as your whipping post when things aren't going right. Oh, Hashem doesn't love me. Hashem turned on me. What about the Holocaust? What about October 7th? What about... And again, where's Hashem in all the good things in your life? Where's Hashem? The fact that you can listen to this lecture, I have a friend that's deaf in one ear, and it's a big problem for him. The fact that you can see this lecture, there's millions of people that are blind. The fact that you can understand this lecture, there's millions of people with zero intellectual capacity. the fact that you can walk, the fact that you can talk. You might be missing a spouse, but you might have a sister that's, you're close with. There are so many things in your life right now. Literally, you could, from here until eternity, if you actually took the blinders off, you could write down a list of things that you're grateful for, and that list will never end. It just keeps growing every single day. But unfortunately, as humans, specifically as Jews, and this was told to us by Moshe. Why was it so important that it was told to us by Moshe? Because Moshe was the most grateful person that's probably ever lived. It's literally the essence of his name. And he sees the Jewish people turning on Hashem constantly. And he calls us an Am Naval. I don't know if there's anything worse to be called. To end, again, I want to thank Hashem for there's so many gifts in my life, but specifically on the birthday of my now 6-year-old son, I try to show my gratefulness by imbuing him and infusing him with everything that I know is holy and right and just. That's what we do as parents, as spouses, as friends, as fellow employees, as fellow students. We try to just take that unbelievable light that Hashem has given every single Jew. Take that light in like a cauldron of gratefulness and beam that light out to the rest of the Jewish world. Wishing everybody a wonderful, wonderful day from the newly established ON TORAH Foundation. Hope everyone will join us, support us, and grow with us. Wishing you a wonderful, wonderful day.